I honestly do not think it is possible for me to convey to you how excited I am to finally be doing a spooky reading vlog. Awen's excited too! But I thought I would maybe kick off this year's spooky reading vlogs with mood reading from my 2025 spooky season TBR, because there are quite a few books on here right now, and I think I kind of just want to go with what I'm feeling with at the moment. Maybe later on, either in like another spooky reading vlog, or if I end up doing like a 24-hour readathon, I'll kind of put the rest of my spooky TBR in a jar and pick from it like that. I don't really know. But for right now, I think I'm gonna mood read from this TBR, so I'll just quickly share with you what I have on this TBR. I do have a video where I did go more in depth with this TBR, so if you are interested in watching that, I'll try to remember to put the link in the description of this video. But starting off, there's one book on my Kobo that I'd like to read, and that is A Dowry of Blood. Then I have Ally by Junji Ito, Third Shift Society by Meredith Moriarty, Fangs and Cryptid Club by Sarah Anderson, The Deading by Nicholas Boulardis, Model Home by Rivers Solomon, The Mist by Stephen King, Ghost Camera by Darcy Coates, The Grip of It by Jacques Jemk, The Return by Rachel Harrison, and this bind-up of the original Addams Family comics called The Addams Family and Evolution. So I'd like to think it's a pretty well-rounded TBR. There's different like kind of subgenres of horror and thriller in there, as well as graphic novels. I think right now I'm kind of in the mood for an actual novel, not so much a graphic novel. And I'm kind of going back and forth between The Return and The Deading right now, because I really want to read both. They're both pretty short. Honestly, I think I might go with The Return just because I think it's going to be a very fast-paced read. Not that I don't think The Deading is, but this is more what I'm in the mood for. It seems more thrillery, whereas The Deading seems like it's going to be more horror. So this one is supposed to be about a group of friends, and one of them goes missing and then comes back after 2 years and is acting super strange. I'm thinking possession. I don't entirely know, and I don't really want to spoil it for myself, but that's the vibe I get from the synopsis. But we will see. I am gonna actually start reading this one right now, I think just here in my office, and then maybe a little later I'll go outside because the weather is finally cool enough to sit outside without sweating buckets. So that's kind of my plan for today, and hopefully I get a decent chunk of this read. last night I finished The Return and it was so fast paced. I loved it so much. I actually read it in 2 days and did not want to put it down. Like it was so good. Twisty, turny, disgusting at times, like absolutely nasty, made me want to squirm. But it turned out to be a little bit more on the horror side than the thriller side, which I was a-okay with. It was a very unique horror piece, and it was the type that has really gross imagery, but then also makes you feel on edge, like someone is watching you and everything isn't what it seems. And I don't know, I can't sing this book enough praise. So obviously I'm gonna rate it 5 stars. At the beginning, I was kind of thinking it was gonna be like more towards the 3 or 4 star range. That's only because it took me a little bit to get used to the writing style, but once I did, I was hooked and I did not want to put it down. Also, it's very floppy, so 5 stars for the flop. I love a good floppy book. But yeah, it definitely delivered a lot more than I had anticipated, and I am so happy about that. It's a great way to start off my spooky reading season, honestly. And if you're into horror that's a little bit on the ickier side, highly recommend. It was a very fun read. So now I'm going to stray away a little bit from my original path, not by much, just by one book, and that is because I just received an ARC called Mother of God by Sarah Peters. This one is also supposed to be a thrillery type horror, I believe. And I want to read this one sooner rather than later. I don't want to put it off too long because it does come out, I believe, on September 30th, which is only a couple weeks from now as I'm filming this. So I really need to get on that. I also just bought a Kindle. So this is the first time I'm ever using it. And I am excited to see if I am going to like it more than the Kobo or vice versa. I'm still going to keep my Kobo and use it and love it and all that. It's just some things are only available on Kindle. Other things are only available on Kobo. I bit the bullet and got a Kindle as well. And now I have the option, which is super nice. But anyway, I think I am going to just maybe go hang out on my couch and start Mother of God and then hopefully get hooked on that one and also finish it in a couple of days. Before I start, just excuse my
nasty sounding voice, I am getting over a cold right now and it's been rough. So, on that note, I have spent most of today in my pajamas in bed, just kind of reading and chilling because I feel like absolute garbage. But I did just finish Mother of God, and oh my goodness, was this book a fever dream. It was wild and disgusting and disturbing, but super meaningful as well, and heartbreaking, honestly. It was one of those books where you just kind of have to go with the flow, even though you don't really understand what's going on. It all kind of comes together and makes sense towards the end. There are also no quotation marks around any of the dialogue or anything like that, so that gets a little bit confusing at times, but it works. It is written in a way that's kind of like poetry, honestly, and the dialogue tends to morph into descriptions and stuff. I don't know. It was a very interesting read. I definitely don't think it would be for everyone. I think some people would just be confused by it or frustrated and not enjoy the lack of like obvious plot because it's not super plot heavy. It's more like stuff going on in the main character's head that you kind of have to deduce and figure out what's real, what's not. I don't know. I feel like I'm not describing this in a way that is doing it justice, but I am going to rate it 5 stars because it was beautiful and horrifying and the writing was heartbreaking, honestly. I really loved it. I don't know that it's one that I'd ever read again just because it is going to stick in my brain crystal clear forever. I can't see myself ever forgetting about this one, but I think anything less than 5 stars to me would not do it justice. So anyway, that book comes out, I believe, September 30th, 2025, so it might already be out by the time I post this. I'm not entirely sure. But now I am going to get back on track with my regular 2025 spooky TBR, and I do think I'm going to read The Deading. I started off not being sure if I wanted to read this one or The Return. I read The Return, really loved it, so I'm gonna go with The Deading now. It's definitely calling to me. I'm hoping it's gonna be creepy and disgusting and everything you'd want a horror book to be. And I'm also hoping that it's gonna be super fast paced because I have not got a lot of reading done in the last week just because I've been sick and it's hard to read with a headache. So hopefully this gets me back into the swing of things and I can read it rather quickly.
I just finished The Deading, and I cannot lie to you, I am a bit disappointed. It had such a strong intro. It was dark and creepy and atmospheric and gross, and I really thought that that was going to carry on throughout the book because it kind of seemed like the vibe, right? We set the tone from the beginning. Unfortunately, that was not the case, and it was very like lackluster and overly descriptive. I do enjoy descriptive writing and lots of detail and stuff, but this was just overdone at times it felt, and so I honestly was getting bored, especially towards like the 100-page mark. But I did really want to push through because I was hoping that there would be a lot more creepiness like the beginning, and unfortunately, it just kind of fell flat. It was not my favorite. Kind of felt like the author was trying to do too much. There was way too much going on and yet not enough at the same time, if that makes sense. Anyway, this one was definitely not for me, and I'm kind of torn between rating it 2 stars and 3 stars. It had a 5-star intro, honestly. Like, that was a solid introduction into the book. And I really also enjoyed the concept. It was very unique. I don't want to describe it because if you intend on reading this book, I think it's best to go into it not knowing what it's about, honestly, because it is very unique. But I don't know that that makes up for the like boringness of it. So maybe right now I'm going to say 2 stars. I know that seems kind of low, but if it weren't for that beginning, I probably honestly would have DNF'd it. And now looking back at it, I honestly could have. I think that the beginning was like the best part. But anyway, I'm going to leave this reading vlog here, unfortunately, on a sour note. I just kind of have to think back to the other 2 amazing books that I read. Yeah, this one was not my cup of tea, unfortunately, but I did read 2 really good ones, so I'm going to take that as a win. But for now, I'm going to leave this one here. I hope you have a great rest of your week and happy reading.